Hi, everybody. Okay, so I'm coming on a little bit early today because we have some festivities tonight, right? We're going to bring in the new year, 2026. It's going to be even better than 2025. 2025 has been amazing, and we've ended with a bang. We started with a bang and we ended with a bang because we have the intel and the special forces community reaching out to us and providing a lot of information that is so relevant to our son's case, but also, and I said this on September 10th, that night, September 11th, 2025. And I want to make sure that everything is working before I go on. I should make sure everything is working. Okay. Um, so I did say that I knew right away. We knew right away with their reaction and the narrative that was coming out um, from UVU and the killing of the taking of his life, Charlie Kirk. We knew that this was absolutely connected to our son's case. And we knew that the attempts on President Trump, each one of them, both of them, that they were absolutely connected to our son's case. Because we did the background checks on these people, and it's the same group. It's the same group, and some people call it the deep state, and we have it more specific than that, right? We have it more specific with these bureaucrats, and that's what you can really call these bureaucrats. Um, eh, that have infiltrated our system, have established themselves for years in our system, and have been up to no good, have been absolutely criminal and up to no good. And so today we just wanted to come on a little bit early because we want to celebrate tonight, because 2025 has been really an incredible year. There's so much going on behind the scenes, and it's just too bad that the media doesn't celebrate what has happened in this last year, that they don't give the true picture of what is happening this year, that they fight it. We have the bureaucrats, a deep state that are so entrenched, that are very, very corrupt, as you can see in Minnesota. There is no doubt at all that Governor Walz is absolutely a fraudster, a total fraudster up to no good, and just a thief, just absolutely a thief. And, that's the tip of the iceberg. You see that, this infiltration in our government, and in our son's case, it has been very clear and the very sad. I mean, it's been probably after what they've done to our son and Vanessa Guillen and Glennon Oakley Jr. and Charlie Kirk, this loss of life of 500,000 children, and targeting these women that are in crisis pregnancies, really uh, even creating the environment with these co-ed barracks, and then bringing in all the garbage that they bring in. And I know this from Asia Graham's case and talking to her family. The situation they put our young volunteer sons and daughters in the barracks room, and the retaliation that they get with this whole sex cult thing that was going on. It was just such a terrible. It's just so terrible. And then you have these young women getting into these crisis pregnancy situations, and then you have those like Martha Mendez Aguilar, targeting these young women. And it's just it just gets worse and worse, when you hear all the news about these illegal C-sections and the organ harvesting and all of that. And you have her family that was working for Beto O'Rourke. And, where do they dump all these bodies, right? And then you have Plenitude Crematorium being raided, over 400 bodies, um, where we believe partial remains of our son were dumped there, um, because he was forcibly removed from his barracks room there on Fort Bliss, taken to the basement room, which is the arms room. It's a soundproof room, and his life was taken there. And then his body was stolen off of Fort Bliss and trafficked to Mexico. We believe it's a big possibility that there was organ harvesting. It's a lot of money for corneas, a lot of money for these kidneys and all of that. It's just, and we have so much other evidence that we haven't presented yet because we're not able at this time yet. But the connections with all of this this organ harvesting and everything, it's just, it's heartbreaking. And after all of that, right, which is so heartbreaking, the biggest heartbreak is that our military leadership is corrupt, that our military generals um, are so corrupt that the death penalty needs to be on the table for when they get court-martialed. It's that bad. It is just that bad. And from the very beginning, from Sean Bernabe, from Donna Martin, from McConville, from Michael Garrett, from all of these flag officers that we have given everything to. We give them everything. We give them beautiful housing. We give them big paychecks. We give them our respect. We give them our beautiful uniforms and our stars, and we give them transportation and access to all kinds of files and to our the most sensitive. We give them access to our national security, right? We give them access to that, and we trust them to handle that with care, and we give them our volunteer sons and daughters. We put them in their hands for our national security, and I'm telling you, these flag officers, for the most part, I haven't met one yet. I don't know if Raising Cane is compromised as well. I don't know, but all of the ones that are involved and connected to our son's case, they are the big T, y'all. They are absolutely the worst of the worst of the worst of the worst traitors, and they need to be court-martialed. They need to be court-martialed, and the death penalty needs to be on the table, because what they have been involved in is all of this stuff at the border and the election tampering. Don't forget that the main reason why, and this has been confirmed in all of our evidence, the main reason why that Colin Whitten leaked our son's name to the cartel, the main reason, the main threat of our son. Yes, he was reporting the criminal trafficking, but what we have confirmed is that he was reporting Fort Bliss's involvement in the Walmart mass shooting. Okay. He was reporting Fort Bliss's involvement, the military being involved in the Walmart mass shooting. Okay. The absolutely orchestration, the carrying it out, and the cover up. Okay. And that was the biggest, biggest threat, because he was exposing our military leadership. We know that those flag officers were absolutely compromised, 100% we have all the receipts. We know that the DES, the Director of Emergency Services, Thomas Kane, was absolutely compromised. We know that the CID was compromised. We know that the FBI, he is the Assistant Special Agent in charge. He's been there for decades, y'all. He is really the Special Agent in charge, okay? He really is Connell Wetton. And we know that his loyalty was for his Mormon faction, that his family from Chihuahua, Mexico, that he is absolutely involved with the cartel, that he was the cartel's inside man. That has been confirmed, okay? That has been confirmed that Connell Wetton was the cartel's inside man in the El Paso FBI office, okay? That there is and we have documented that, we have filed it, we have submitted that, and we back up that statement, okay? And so, when you have the FBI, and remember when we had the task force find Richard Halliday, it was over 15 agencies, right? And we know that these agencies from the Texas Rangers that were compromised, right? All these people that were there, that I stood up in front of, that my husband stood up in front of, that we gave them evidence, okay? And they absolutely covered it up, okay? This is a US Army young soldier that was code redded. This from the very beginning, to cover up Danae Katzen, who was campaigning very closely with Beto O'Rourke, okay? And she's a fugitive now. And she had Richard's credit cards in her possession. Her family, just so involved in this. And the access to the files and all of that, and for the CID and the FBI to cover this up, to cover her up, to cover Nadal Baim up. One thing is confirmed, is that the CID Quantico, that the flag officers, they are absolutely compromised to the extreme, to the level that they need to face the death penalty. That's how serious this is. And I've never said this lightly. We've presented and we've presented and we've presented the evidence. We've laid it out there, and El Paso is compromised. The judicial system, the law enforcement system, and our Fort Bliss is compromised. And now in 2025, of course, we have a new commander in chief. But I want to tell you this, that the death of Charlie Kirk, okay, confirms to us that we still have those undercover mutineers that are in bed with the cartel, with the hatred for any kind of looking into securing our border. They don't want that border secured. They want to continue with these tunnels. They want to continue with every kind of evil, kind of criminal scheme that they can conjure up with the contracts, with the border, and they are absolutely part of a Mormon faction. I'm not saying that they're all Mormons. I'm saying that they're part of the Mormon faction. The Mormon faction has a huge leadership role in all of this. And this is the common denominator with Charlie Kirk's case. And because it's clearly a cover up, because it's clearly connected to this Mormon faction, red flags went way up, way up. And because Charlie Kirk, when you really look at what he was doing, he was challenging the RNC. That's what he was doing. He was challenging the RNC, meaning how the Republicans elect officials, who is running the RNC, what kind of security are we going to have on our elections. That's what he was challenging. And remember that the RNC was controlled by the Romneys, right? It was controlled by the Romneys. And I'm not saying, I don't want to say anything about the Romneys, but the Romneys are from Chihuahua, Mexico, okay? It's just they have a huge connection and they're still there. They're still there in Nova Casa Grandes, in Colonial Dublin, of Colonial Juarez. They're still there, and with the Wittens, and that was an opposition to President Trump, and they have a very close relationship with other avenues that have been mentioned in this that I really can't mention at this time because you would have so many flags on our videos, right? Because I already mentioned that Zorro Ranch, it bordered the northern border of White Sands Missile Range, right? And they had we've given our military everything. Everything. We give our Congress everything. We give them so much trust and love and everything. And they have betrayed us because they use these flights from, you know, uh, on the September 9th that connect Fort Huachuca to El Paso and to Andrews. Okay. This is a SAM 702 flight. SAM 702, that means that these are VIP individuals on there. And we have, some, we've known this for a while, since it was all put out there on the internet. And we just wanted to hold on, make sure we knew who was on this plane, what because it connects Fort Huachuca, and of course what Mitch Snow, the witness to the meeting there at Fort Huachuca, that on this September 8th and September 9th, and to see how people would react to him. They have absolutely been brutal, like they were to us for months and months, like they were to Richard, like they were to Glennon Oakley Jr. They just attack dogs onto Mitch Snow instead of listening to what he was reporting, and making and getting all that information and descending on Fort Huachuca, because the big information that he gave us is that there's tunnels there, right? He confirmed the tunnels. He confirmed, and those things need to be confirmed too. And just like it takes how many millions of posts of sharing to get people aware of what's going on in Minnesota, and say that's not enough for these Minnesota officials that knew this was going on all along for years, to finally come out and say, oh, well, okay, we stopped this money now. It's only because of we the people, right? Because we're a government of the people, by the people, for the people, and we were paying attention to this young brave man that put out the video where you have these daycares committing fraud with no children but collecting millions of dollars. It's the same thing with this. If this goes out, and the media really focuses on what Mitch Snow had to say, right, and treats it fairly instead of like just, oh, he's so bad, he's so bad, he's so bad, he's so bad, and she's so bad, and she's so ridiculous, and how can you even give her airtime, and how can you give him airtime? And I'm like, really? Really? Are you kidding me? You want me to give the media airtime? You want me to give these officials? You want me to give these generals? Like, I'm supposed to kiss the feet of these traitors right now because they're absolutely traitors. The generals, the flag officers. I think that I need to listen to Candace Owens right now. I think I need to listen to Mitch Snow right now. I think I need to listen to those that are boots on the ground, intel and special forces community that are, sick and tired of these cover ups and this exploitation of people that we trust the most, that break our hearts. They break our hearts and they laugh about it. They break our hearts and take our children, take our young sons and daughters that volunteer to say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, and do their best, right? And do their best. And and we entrust them with our national security and they break our hearts. It is the most despicable thing. And we see it in Minnesota with how we want to care for children, how we want to care for migrants that are coming in here. We are benevolent as a people here in this country, but they are breaking our hearts by being so bad, so evil, and they are not deserving of our benevolence. They need to be, if they're criminals, they need to be held accountable, or they need to be deported if they're, if they have taken what we've entrusted in them, a naturalization, let's say. Richard was naturalized, right? He didn't treat his naturalization by exploiting it. He gave his life in the line of duty for his country, and these people just break our hearts because that didn't need to happen, right? That didn't need to happen if the generals, if the flag officers were doing their duty, if if let's say Veronica Escobar was doing her duty. She's just so evil. These are very evil monsters in these positions. And what has put them in these positions? Well, election fraud. Election fraud has put them in these positions because the money that they get, right? The money that they get by exploiting, like what's going on in Minnesota, was used to fund certain candidates' elections. That is like jaw dropping, right? And I am sure that if we follow the money, that this border money has been used to fund certain people's campaigns, tampering with our elections so that they can have their infiltrators, more and more infiltrators in our law enforcement, in our military, flag officer, beautiful uniforms, but that they're traitors, right? Traitors in our Senate, traitors in our Congress, traitors in judge robes, traitors as prosecutors that are up to no good. All they want to do is cover for these atrocities, and then we never see accountability. We never see accountability. Well, this is why, because there's election tampering, and they tried to do that with President Trump in 2016. They did that to him in 2020. They tried to do it in 2024, and guess who really was the too big to rig? That was Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk was the one that was really challenging the RNC, that really was acting against getting President Trump elected. I remember all that and was just shocked because the people were overwhelmingly for President Trump in the Republican Party, and the RNC was not doing what they were supposed to until his daughter-in-law got in there and said, "Look, we need to support President Trump. He is our nomination, right? Our nominee." And now you see, through this whole Charlie Kirk and of course the Jeffrey Epstein, that there is, just this. this inside cleanup that has to be done because it's so dirty inside our government because of these decades of infiltration. And so we have some cleaning up to do in 2026. 2025 was the exposure of all of it, and unfortunately it cost Charlie Kirk his life. And I think that the real question, people say, who did it? Who was behind it? I have my ideas, right? And our family, our Gold Star family, is probably in the position to be able to say it because of our 5.5 years every day in and day out and being victims of the assaults and the threats and the you know uh knowing that the lies that were told and the do nothing and the false narrative about our son, who was a distinguished honor graduate, right? Clept out of college math and German at the age of 15, 12 hours in one day. He clept out. That he was a dedicated Christian, right? All of this false information that's out there that they put on record, that we got to make this on the record. They tampered with the records, they tampered with the files so that they could put it out there so that if you search something negative is going to come back about our son, Richard Halliday. Well, let me tell you, we've debunked them all. We've debunked them all. And they still have them on their record so that when you do your search, but our son is a national hero. Our son is just absolutely worthy of all respect from every American. His name is indelible. And it's just incredible what he stood up against. Okay. Absolutely incredible what he stood up against and what he knew. And so he was such a threat to them that they had to send El Mayo's lawyer to do counterintelligence with Richard. So, and it took way over 15, I think it's like 23 different agencies to do this to Richard and to do this to our family, to this whole code red and cover up. And remember, Richard's murder has been already reported as a code red. Okay. It's been reported, put down on paper as a code red. That just think about that. That's jaw dropping. And so with this new information connecting Fort Bliss, or connecting El Paso with Fort Huachuca, and if all of this is corroborated, which I think the hate that's been going out and the way the alibis have been, you know, put in there and stuff like that, it's so ridiculous, right? That I think that Mitch Snow has been vindicated, and I think that what Candace Owens has been figuring out is um, really worthy of further investigation. And I'll also say that she might have a blind spot, and that blind spot, which is so hard to take down, that blind spot, and that is that our military leadership, that our flag officers could be involved in this with our government um, agencies that are mutinous, okay, that are mutinous. Um, so I think that um, that is really I'm gonna read all these comments now because we have quite a bit. Thank you, Anicia, for coming on. And I just want to wish everyone a very happy New Year's Eve and New Year's. It's just 2026. I can tell you, I get chills when I think about it because uh, I. I I just know what's been happening behind the scenes, and I'm looking so forward to 2026. Okay, I'm looking so forward to it. Thank you, Laura, for coming on. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your patriotism. We need to just really um, be the ultimate patriots, and we need to storm heaven, storm our system with a righteousness, with prayer, with um, the truth over and over again, because our country is worth it. It is worth fighting for, and we have been lax, and now it's time. It's time to really clean it up, and um, it will just be amazing, absolutely amazing, if we can get the fraudsters out of there and the real criminals that are so deadly, monsters. Gold Star Mom's still in Gulag in Denver. Uh, yes, I heard about that. I've been praying for her. I know that President Trump has been commenting about her, that he gave her a pardon, right? He gave her, I think it was a pardon, and that they will not release her in Colorado. Well, Colorado is one of those states that have been very infiltrated, like El Paso, and the leadership there, the power there, is up to no good. They are absolutely up to no good. And she challenged the election. It's all about this election fraud, y'all. She's a witness to the election fraud. It is quite easy to see that Charlie Kirk may have been code redded also. Your son Richard was an amazing human being. Yes, a reckoning is coming. Thank you, Elaine, so much. Good Lord has his hand on this. And absolutely, God's hand has had his God has had his hand on this from the very beginning. They can't stop the truth. And people say, oh, there'll never be accountability. There'll never be truth or whatever. What are you talking about? God is in control. Men think, but He is at the controls. And, the men can think all they want, that they have protection and everything. But, God is no buttercup, and He's bringing everything out to the light, everything. Um, we also need to go after the masterminds behind the known faces of fraud, individuals like Doug Bergman hiding with the administration by denying audits and agencies. And Tim Waltz is an idiot that cannot string a sentence together. Can you imagine? He could have been like the vice president. I mean, it's so scary. Um, we need to, yeah. And if you go look at Nova Casacondas, Panama and Mexico and all that, they have huge ties with the CCP. And they have huge ties with interests that are not American interests, right? I just think people that have access to intelligence and files and reports and everything need to be so closely vetted, because it gives them so much power, with all the tampering, with all the death certificate tampering, with all, and those that do it need to be held to the highest account. Okay, because a country that can't depend on death certificates. I mean, 400 tampered death certificates. Absolutely. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. And Richard's file, absolutely, on the Mexican side and in the CID and out there, has been so tampered with. So, yeah, all this tampering with files, they need to be held to the highest account and penalty. Um, Thank you for your bravery and plight for justice against animals that did this to your son, Mrs. Halliday. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for coming on over 5.5 years later and sharing this information that it's only by sharing, and we're getting millions of views, and people are joining to share this information, and they see this playbook, right, in Richard's case, and Glendon Oakley Jr.'s, and Vanessa Guillen's, and in Charlie Kirk's. They see that this was very politically driven, very politically driven, um, in order to get into positions where they can cover up their criminal, organized, Mexican organized criminal Mormon faction, activity that we have absolutely documented with hard evidence and have submitted. Um, Thousands, y'all. It's just, we're going to write a book, and someone said, say it takes 3,000 letters. Yeah, it takes thousands. And one day we'll add them all up, and that'll be the name of our book, right? Because you just can't give up. You have to expose this, because we are truly, and I say it over and over and over again, are a government of the people, by the people, and for the people, under God. That is our government. And the people need to know, and that's why they spend so much money trying to control the media, right? And all of this psyops and this hypnosis and all of that, the drugging and all of it, the movies and the music and all of that. They want to control the minds of the people. They absolutely want to control the minds. They go into our churches, they infiltrate our churches, because they want to control our minds. And because they know that if they control our minds, and they can control our law enforcement and our judicial system, and our political system, that they can absolute operate with impunity, and take over our country. That's really the whole thing in a nutshell. And so, and I'm very, very sad and heartbroken to break this to everybody all the time. But our flag officers are dirty as hell. They are dirty as hell. And so, when you see these flights, and you see Fort Huachuca being involved in this, and Fort Bliss being involved in this, um, and I can't even imagine what Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, have had to say to these flag officers. I can't even imagine behind the scenes, and knowing what the commander in chief has had to say to these flag officers, because they were going after him during his first administration. They absolutely were involved in the Walmart mass shooting. Um, uh, and I can lay that all out, and I have many times. And it's so heartbreaking. It's so heartbreaking that they are such traitors, to everything that we have given them, everything that we've given them, and always thanking them for their service. It's just, it's heartbreaking. It really is. So we have a lot of cleaning up to do in our military, a lot of cleaning up. And I really loved in 2025 that we had that military um, parade, right? We had the military parade, because that was an audit. That was a total audit. And the commander in chief stood there, and he got to audit our military. Absolutely, we should have these military parades. We need to audit, because they were stealing everything that wasn't bolted down. I'm not kidding you. They were stealing from us, from fuel to weapons to Humvee, you name it, parts, everything, uniforms, everything. They were stealing. And so we need to have audits constantly. And of course, the Pentagon has failed once again, another audit. And yeah, so our commander in chief has a lot of work to do. And I, am a history person, so I know that the greatest generals and commander in chiefs had to be constantly vigilant in the past, controlling. And George Washington is like one of the major ones, right? Where he built our navy in 5 years, right? He built our navy in 5 years with the most mutinous military because there were so many loyalists to the British crown. Um, it's just, the leadership is so important. And I feel that I've scrutinized President Trump uh, from head to toe in all of this, and knowing everything going on behind the scenes. Um, we are we are absolutely supporters of President Trump. I'm not saying that everything is perfect because he's dealing with so much mutiny in our government, that so many traitors, and it's all coming out. Um, the whole Minnesota fraudster fraudster, uh, it's like industrial size fraud, right? Would never have come out unless President Trump was in there. So I think we have to join him in the work that needs to be done to clean this up. And I'm so glad this young man, and he needs to be protected. This young man was so brave to go to these daycares and show what fraud they were committing. And I think that that's, citizen activism, right? Citizen activism. So thank you so much, everybody. I hope you have a very, very happy new year. In Germany, we say eine gute Rutsch, because of course my mother is German descent. And I showed that she became, in 1965, she became a citizen of the United States right there in El Paso, right there at the courthouse in El Paso. And I showed the picture in her certificate and all the things she had to learn to become a U.S. citizen and give up her German citizenship. Um, but we do have some fun sayings still in German, and to bring in the new year for everyone in a very happy way. So thank you so much. And I will be back tomorrow.